For those with good taste.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boys from For Those with Good Taste. I'm Matt. He's Lenny.
What up?
And welcome to our third installment of our preview, our deep dive into Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2. If you haven't caught the first two episodes, go back and watch those. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Maybe there's one right there, too.
Over there. Sorry, Lenny, I interrupted you, buddy.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Good.
Anyway, our third installment, and now we're getting into the nitty-gritty because it's fight week, baby.
It is time.
Oh, you could have did that like Bruce Buffer and you ruined it.
I wanted to make it my own.
It's time. Okay,
if it was me, I'd be like, it is time.
Ooh,
it's a good one, right?
We got to get that.
Kind of like, I would do it more like This Is Sparta. I digress, though.
We've
had a fun time kind of going through our memories of our history with these two guys. We've both watched them ascend to this point, and we're back here for the rematch. But before we get to the fight itself, let's
how did we get here?
Let's kind of look at this past year.
Let's do a quick debrief.
You know, we finished last episode talking about the fight they both had in 2020, right? So we had Conor knocking off Cowboy Cerrone, and we had a barn burner of a fight between Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker.
Scrap. From
that point on, Conor had wanted to fight again. He had these plans to fight 2 to 3 more times last year. He wanted to bang out a season, as he called it. But coronavirus comes, and it becomes not so profitable for the UFC to want to pay Conor $100 and something million and then not recoup anything on tickets.
You're too expensive for 2020, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what the case was, man. And it leads to some disputes between them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like a little bits of issues.
I mean, we talked about it in the past. It essentially came down to Conor feeling the need to kind of strong arm the UFC into booking him for a fight.
Can't say I blame him.
If
the man wants to work, the man wants to work.
And if you think about it, man, he went about it the right way. There was no disrespect or anything like that. I mean, he not calls out, but he hits up Dustin. Hey, man, let's put on this charity gig.
Yeah.
Let's put one on for the fans. I'll cover the cost of everything that you got going on. Let's make it happen.
So something that's important to not get lost here is I think mutually there's a reason that Conor went for Dustin. And part of it is just that. It's respect. Dustin's being a philanthropist himself, right? So he's a charitable guy. Conor's obviously trying to make amends for his discretions that he had between 2016 and now, basically, with the multiple issues he ran into. I think he's trying to make good on some of that stuff. But Dustin's also going through his own issues with the UFC at this point. He was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson, but they can never get the money right.
Yeah.
You know, Dustin's at this point where, again, we mentioned it in the first video, I believe, but, you know, they keep putting Dustin in these positions where they want to build other names off of him. And he's been game for that. And he's never said no to them the whole build up to this. So when he's finally at a position of power and he's rattled off all these wins, he's been an interim champion.
Trying to get paid, man.
He fought Habib. Yeah, he's like, my name's got some worth now, and I'm gonna look for that. And I do think that Conor, the same way that he looked at a guy like Nate Diaz, I think in a way, you want to pay the dues back to the guys who have put it out there for a lot of their careers. And Dustin's never ran away from a fight. And Conor, I don't think, is a guy who's going to just ignore that kind of fact. So he looked at a person who he would want to do business with in a way. Because if I'm going to give my shine to somebody else, I want them to be somebody who I either can make more money with, like Habib for Conor, or you want to give it to a guy like Poirier, where there's a mutual respect, I think, in that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's there is some credibility to the fight. You know, these guys have the history as we've kind of gone down, and now it's all kind of come to fruition.
It's probably a little easier too for Conor to be like, hey, I want to fight that guy because I knocked him out in 2.5 minutes the first time we fought.
I mean, do you think he calls his shot now?
He already did.
Yeah,
he said it's done in 60 seconds. It's faster this time.
He's a grimy bastard, huh?
But I'm not going to disagree with him, man.
He did it once.
You know, and I guess from here, because we basically laid the groundwork, they end up booking the fight, if you can't tell, because we've done this whole build up here, right? They booked the fight. It's happening. I think it makes perfect sense that Conor would see himself finishing this in 60 seconds. First of all, he has the knowledge of beating him already. Second of all, Dustin Poirier is at his biggest disadvantage in the first round of a fight.
And some would say that's where Conor is his most deadliest.
It is a dangerous combination there, man. And Dustin is going to be dancing with fire for a lot of that first 2 rounds.
And Dustin's never really been one to shy away from dancing with fire. I mean, we've highlighted just about every instance in his career where he has come up against the grain and really just pushed through it.
It's his greatest skill set is also potentially going to be his downfall in this matchup. It is an interesting matchup. It's like an oil and water thing because it's like on one side, or yin and yang, like they complete each other's skill sets on the opposite end. So it's like Conor's great those first 2 rounds, and he can get out there and he will knock you out. He'll take your head clean off your shoulders right in the first 2 rounds. The other side of that is Poirier. While good in the first 2 rounds, he doesn't start to shine until 3, 4, and 5 when he can really put it on you.
And he can kind of use his pressure as an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he sees you slowing down, if you had to kind of put it, you know, a label on it, you've got Conor kind of representing style and grace. You know, he's going to be able to make it look good while he's doing it. He's going to do some magical things. When you look at Dustin, if it's going to take a few minutes for him to get started, that style is nasty once he gets into gear. He's gritting out. He's powerful. He's beating the crap out of people. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Which one comes out on top?
I have to see if Dustin implements a game plan that requires maybe a little bit more patience through those first couple rounds. Maybe he is a little bit more of a boring fighter the first couple of rounds. That could really play to his benefit. I don't think he's necessarily a better grappler than Conor. As I said in the first video, like Conor, I think for the most part has some very underrated grappling. He had a really nice sweep of Nate Diaz. His takedown defense and his overall like conservation of like damage and energy against Khabib was pretty impressive, right? And there's other stuff along the way. We talked about Max Holloway. He has a really nice guard pass of Dennis Seaver as well. He's a guy who's shown spark little bits of it along his time in his career. And I think that the grappling will be even enough that it won't be a huge discrepancy. So I don't think that Poirier will want to do that.
No.
So what is he really going to do? He's going to have to engage at some point in here. And I can't see him withstanding it. I don't know about you.
5-round fight. 2 guys who are not going to shy away from it getting scrappy. But if it comes down to blows and who's landing the harder shots, this fight's at 155. Dustin's the bigger guy, but Conor just has a certain power and ability to connect shots.
We've only seen Conor at 155 twice, which is crazy too.
Yeah.
Like in the UFC. And one was the best of his career and the other was the worst.
Yeah.
Even if he shows up somewhere in the middle, the fight of the year last year, for like I said, I think Poirier and Hooker are right up there in the conversation. It was incredible. But the biggest thing in there is that for it to be that good, Poirier had to get hit a ton. And I just don't see a world where Conor has to hit you that much to get you out of there.
That's what I'm squeaking to.
And where I think that 155 is Conor's best division. It blends the most of Conor's power with his speed. And I think that if he's dedicated at that weight class, there's maybe not even Khabib is better. I think,
And that's the big question here is where does your dedication fall? If we're going to get the Terminator style Conor McGregor that he wanted to be at the end of 2020, or he wanted to be in 2020, this is a scary fight for Dustin because Dustin, there is nowhere to hide at this point. Like you've fought the who's who, you fought for a title, you've answered a lot of questions that people had about you. And this is probably going to be that one instance where if you lose this fight, it's kind of tough to say you can go on to fight for another title. Mm-hmm. It's very, very difficult to do that.
Is there an outcome for you that Poirier can lose this fight and it's a win for him?
No.
I think he's in a really hard spot here.
If it's a barn burner and they go to war for 5 rounds and he just takes a beating, it's typical Dustin. We've seen Dustin do it.
Whoever wins goes on to fight for some type of a title off of this, right?
Yeah.
But no matter what happens to Conor, win or lose, unless there's something like completely drastic, he's going to fight for another title at some point, right? Yeah. They will find a way to get him into a title fight. He'll always be one fight away from a title fight, if not a title, just ready for one.
I mean, he can jump into a title fight literally whenever he wants, probably.
But if Dustin loses this fight, he's now lost to Conor twice, and he's lost to Khabib once. It's gonna be hard. I couldn't see a word where Khabib would entertain fighting him a second time when you couldn't you've lost to Conor 2 different times.
I've juggled the what's next after this fight if they both lose, right? What's next for them if they lose? The only interesting matchup for Dustin at this point, and it's not even interesting enough really for him, it's interesting for the other guy, it's Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje has to go get that loss back.
It could be a way to redemption. I mean,
but that doesn't do anything for Dustin.
There's a lot of different directions that come from this, and I feel bad because it's a tough spot for Poirier to be at, but I also really appreciate the put it all on the table, man. This is do or die. I mean, you'll make enough money off of this fight to hold you over for quite some time, right? Regardless what happens. Yeah. But in my mind, the outcome of this fight is pretty similar to the Cerrone fight. I think Conor comes out like a bat out of hell. We actually saw him fight it 3 times. Did he fight? Yeah. Were they at 170 for?
I see. I'm trying to think about that, but I'm blanking. Swipe. It was at
welterweight. It was at welterweight. Okay. So yeah, this is he's coming back down. He wasn't at that for there. Yeah. But to me, I think it ends very similar to that with a first round defeat for Poirier. Conor, I think this is the rebirth of the Conor McGregor that we knew in that run, that 4-year run. I think this is that guy. I don't think it's the guy we saw fight Floyd with the brash. Like he's always been brash, but I don't think he's going to be that guy he was at those press conferences. And while they were entertaining and I loved it in the moment, you could see the cracks coming.
And they take away from the artistry.
Yeah. I think having kids change them.
Oh yeah,
in a major way, and I think it's great for the rest of us out here because we're gonna probably see his greatness. So he's my pick, Conor in 1. That's my pick.
Wow, that's good. I mean, the man called it, and you'd be wrong to disagree with him.
Not bad against him.
I won't disagree with him either. I think he will win it. I think he wins it very early. If he wants to say he wins it in 1, I'll agree with him. I think Conor McGregor wins this fight, and it sets him up for a pretty big future. With that being said, I can only wish the best for Dustin Poirier. I like both of these guys.
Yes,
hopefully they're both coming out of this a lot better than they are going into it.
There's few things that get me more excited in the MMA game than a Conor McGregor fight, and I cannot wait for this fight to come to be.
I've lost my voice during 2 Conor fights.
Yeah, he's the stand up in the living room and walk around guy for me. So.
Well, I screamed when he knocked out Jose Aldo. Yeah. I cried when he knocked out Eddie Alvarez. It was beautiful. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, let us know what you're gonna do. Are you watching the fight? Are you excited? Do you agree with our picks? Did we miss anything? Who do you think's coming out on top? Maybe you think Dustin's gonna win. Maybe you think we're completely right. Probably not, but we'd love it if you did.
Yeah, we'd love to hear the feedback. Let us know what you think of this 3-part series. We're very interested in possibly doing something like this again. Let us know what you guys think. But until next time, Len.
Yeah, it's been real, guys. Check out all of our other content. 2020 trivia is somewhere out there. See if you like it. See if you knew the answers. And until next time, guys.
Let's get rumbling.
Keep it classy.
Bye, Santiago.
For those with good taste.